everybody, Cinema Sickness here with this week's weekly review, where we take a look at all the titles I watched throughout the week and I give you my quick thoughts on them. So let's take a look at everything I checked out. The first title I watched this week was What's the Worst That Could Happen? Now I kind of went into this movie thinking it's probably going to be, nothing amazing, but pretty decent. Martin Lawrence, Danny DeVito, a movie about both of them trying to just up one another, trying to get back at each other, because Martin Lawrence, he is a robber. He steals from Danny DeVito, but Danny DeVito steals from him, and it's just this whole big game of who can one-up each other. I thought that sounded like a great story. I do tend to like Martin Lawrence movies, so I thought, how could you go bad with this film? Unfortunately, the film doesn't really go anywhere. Them one-upping each other really isn't all that funny. The movie just is very flat. I was not impressed by this film at all. With 2 stars like Danny DeVito and Martin Lawrence, we should have got a lot more out of this film. We should have got something much, much better. But unfortunately, it falls flat. All the jokes fall flat. Again, the one-upmanship falls flat. It's just a very flat movie. So would I recommend it? No. The second title I watched this week was Red Planet. Now this was absolutely fantastic. I read some reviews online that were really negative, but then I read some other reviews that really gave it a positive spin. They basically said that this movie gets horrible reviews, but I can see it in another 5-10 years from now, this movie being seen as a cult classic. And I would have to agree. It's a really fun sci-fi movie all about these people going off to Mars and just the craziness that goes on, and just things just go really, really bad for this group of people. But it's such a fun watch. So I would say if you were into sci-fi movies, this is definitely one to pick up and add to your collection. It's a blast from start to finish. The cast is great. The action's great. The suspense is great. Just an all-around brilliant sci-fi film. Third title I watched this week was Thumbtanic. Now, this is not going to be for everybody. If you're into the thumb movies, you're definitely going to want to check this one out. It's goofy, it's ridiculous, it's over the top, it's complete nonsense, but it is enjoyable. Now, it's not my favorite of the thumb movies. That probably goes to the other one on here, Thumb Wars. Thumb Wars is great. Love it so much. But the other thumb movies are also really, really good. I'd recommend all of them. This was my first time seeing Thumbtanic, and all in all, it was pretty good. It's obviously a spoof of Titanic, though they do go to some crazy extremes, and I do really enjoy at the end where they're talking in the theater, and the family looks at each other and goes, was that actually historically accurate? Did all those people actually live? Because at the end of the movie, everybody lives. Really, really funny. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. Again, if you're into the thumb movies, otherwise you're going to have no interest in seeing this whatsoever. You got to really lower your IQ to watch these. They are really dumb, but they're also a lot of fun. The fourth title I watched this week was Mrs. Pettigrew Lives for a Day. This was something I was very excited to check out ever since I first saw the trailer for it in another Focus Feature movie I was watching. So when I came across it this week for dirt cheap, had to pick it up and check it out immediately. And it was a great movie, all about 2 people basically who kind of need some help, and they end up helping each other. We have Mrs. Pettigrew, who she is kind of a like a housekeeper for the rich and famous, but she's very pig-headed and stubborn and doesn't like the way all these rich people act. She keeps getting fired, and the company who supplies these housekeepers basically fires her because she's just not doing a very good job. She runs into Amy Adams' character, and they basically end up needing each other to kind of change each other, make each other better people, and it really does become a good story and a well-told movie. There's very funny moments in it, all the characters are very likable, and in the end you're left with a pretty good feeling. So I would definitely recommend checking this one out if you can pick it up for a pretty good price. I mean, it's nothing amazing. I'm not saying it's the best movie I've seen. I would say it's just a little bit above mediocre, but it is certainly a movie that I would say check out if you can get it for a good price. And guys, guys or girls, if you're a fan of Amy Adams, you're definitely going to want to check this one out. Lots and lots of skin on her in this movie. She is not shy at all in this film. I was a little taken back by that. I was not expecting so much Amy Adams skin, but I'm not complaining. So all in all, I'd recommend checking it out. The fifth title I watched this week was The Iron Lady, which is another movie I was really excited to check out because I heard really, really good things about this film. And it did look like a great biographical drama. And I was really excited to check this one out, as I do tend to really enjoy those movies. Also love Meryl Streep, and I hear she's fantastic in this. And she was really good. She did a fantastic job playing Margaret Thatcher. There is one major problem with this movie, though, and that is the fact that it's just too short. It's only a little over an hour and a half long. I believe it's an hour and 40 minutes. That's it. This movie needed to at least be 2 hours, probably longer. This is the story of Margaret Thatcher from her birth all the way up until kind of, not her death, because this came out, I believe, before her death, but all the way up until kind of when she was going a little bit insane and crazy while living in her house and having to be taken care of because she was old and going quite senile. It was just such a really interesting story, and there was so much going on and so much to talk about and so much to tell. Everything just flew by. Every little story just kind of seemed like bam, 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 bam. Here it is. Here's the next story. Here's this story. Here's that story. I just was like, whoa, hold on. Can we learn more about that and this part that's happening in her life? Well, I want to know more about what happened there. Again, it just was not a movie that should have been an hour and a half long. That was a huge, huge mistake on the parts of the filmmakers. Definitely should have at least been 2 hours, if not longer, to talk more about all the things that happened in Margaret Thatcher's life and to go into some more detail so everything didn't just fly by. Otherwise, it is a good movie and it is worth checking out. It won awards for a reason. It's a good watch and definitely a good story if you like biographical dramas. You're gonna want to check it out. But be warned, it is really, really quick, and it definitely should have been much longer. The sixth title I watched this week was Chasing Mavericks. Now, this was a blind buy. I had never even heard of this movie. It just completely escaped me for whatever reason. But when there was a coupon for this on coupons.com, I decided to look up reviews on Amazon and see what kind of reviews it got, and it gets fantastic reviews, so I figured I was definitely going to pick it up and check it out since everybody says it's so great. And I definitely would say yes, a very enjoyable movie. And again, it is another biographical drama. It's all about, and I completely forget his name. I think it's Jay Moriarty, I guess that's how you say it. He's a surfer. It's all about from when he was a little kid and when he first learned to surf, all the way up until when he became a big bad surfer and surfed this huge Maverick pipe. It was just a huge gigantic wave that he surfed, and he was kind of the underdog, probably should have been able to surf it, but he proved himself and he did surf it. Unfortunately, though, we end up finding out at the end of the movie, and a bit of spoiler here if you don't know his story, he did unfortunately die. They don't really talk about that. They basically go all the way up until the fact when he surfs the wave, and then they afterwards do the little thing where they show some pictures and they put up some script. And apparently he died only a few years later. I think he was in his 20s when he died. Kind of sad. He was didn't even die surfing. He was apparently diving, and he died while diving. So kind of sad. Definitely a downer of an ending. You get all kind of pumped. You're like, yeah, he surfed the wave, awesome. And then the script comes up and you're like, oh shit, he died. So yeah, kind of a depressing end, but still a good story, well told, fun. You're really rooting for this kid who's he's got some problems. His trainer, who is played by Gerard Butler, he's got issues too, and things sort of end up working out. They become kind of like a father-son couple. Like the Jay character, his father ran away, and he ends up looking at Gerard Butler as a father. And Gerard Butler ends up becoming kind of a father figure to him. So it's a really, really nice story. I'd recommend checking it out. I mean, you don't have to be into surf movies to want to watch it. You do have to be into, again, biographical dramas, but it is definitely a movie worth checking out, well told, and a good story. And the last two titles I watched this week, I can't actually hold up and show you, as I did watch my digital copies on my iPhone. And the first movie I watched was the remake of The Karate Kid. This is actually my third time seeing this movie. And what I'm about to say, please don't crucify me here for this one. There seems to be two groups of people when it comes to this film. There's the people who hate it and love the original, and there's the people who, still like the original but think the remake is better. I'm in the group of people who think the remake is better. Again, I know, sorry, you're probably all booing and hissing me right now, but I just feel that way. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of the original movie. It's great. I grew up watching it. I grew up watching all the sequels. I'm a big, big fan of the original movie. Have it on a few different formats within my collection. It's absolutely fantastic. But what I think the remake has over the original is the emotion. I don't watch the original movie and get choked up. Sure, I'm rooting for Danny. Love the movie. It's great. You know, I'm rooting for him all throughout the movie. But I don't get emotional at all during the film. Whereas the remake, there's so many great moments between Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith that are just really, really emotional and actually get me choked up. They're just such great, just wonderful moments in this movie, and I actually think the story is told a little bit better too. So, frankly, I'm just a bigger fan of the remake, and I think it's superb. I recommend everybody check out the remake if you haven't seen it. Yes, Jaden Smith can be a little annoying in the film, though. That, if I had to say one downfall, he does tend to bug the hell out of me throughout the film. But personally, I think that kind of works, because in the beginning of the movie, he is so fucking annoying, and he just kind of stays that way throughout the film until the end, when you're not thinking about how annoying he is anymore. And I think it's kind of one of those things where he is an annoying little spoiled brat you just want to smack, and throughout the film ends up becoming somebody better, a better person who, you know, doesn't whine all the time, doesn't complain all the time, realizes, you know, there are better things to do than complain and whine and leave her jacket laying on the floor all the time, you know, things like that. He just becomes a better person all around. So I think it works. Whether that was intentional or not, I don't know, but I kind of can look past the fact that he annoys the hell out of me throughout the film, because in the end, again, he becomes a much better person. So yeah, I know, I'm sorry guys for all those out there, for all you out there who think the original is superb and don't like the remake. I'm sorry, I gotta say the remake is just a better film for me. It's the one I actually enjoy more. I remember when I first saw it in the theaters, I immediately fell in love with the film. I thought it was just absolutely fantastic, and my friend and I who were watching it together, we both actually went, that was really good, and probably actually better than the original. I mean, we both thought that, and I still think that to this day. So I would highly, highly recommend checking out the Karate Kid remake if you haven't seen it yet. And the second title I watched on my iPod was Kick-Ass, a movie I've seen. I guess this is also my third time seeing this movie too. It's great. Just a really, really fun, you know, nobody becoming a superhero story. There's a lot of those out there. It's just really, really well told. Very funny. I do believe it's rated R, so there's plenty of cursing and craziness happening and people getting beat up horribly, lots of blood and, you know, gore to some extent, and it's just not a family-friendly movie at all, and I think that's the way this movie should have been. It should have been raw, in your face, and a movie called Kick-Ass should be a badass movie, and it definitely is. I am really looking forward to the sequel. I hope it's just as good. So tons of great characters in this movie, really good story. If you're into superheroes, this is definitely one to check out. Do I want to say it's the best of the Nobody's Becoming Superhero movies? That's hard to say. I really liked The Defender. I thought that was a really good movie too. I thought Super was excellent. They all kind of have their own different feels. It's kind of interesting how you know, so many movies kind of came out at the same time that kind of have the same sort of story, but each one has its own separate kind of feel, and it's basically, it really is its own movie. They're not ripping each other off at all. But Kick-Ass, it's great. Again, if you're into superheroes, it's definitely a movie to check out. Again, it's funny, it's in your face, it's a kick-ass movie called Kick-Ass, so definitely check it out. So there you go, guys. It's everything I watched throughout the week. Definitely checked out some great titles, and for the most part, I'd recommend them all. Maybe with the exception of What's the Worst That Could Happen. It just wasn't really all that great, and I will probably never watch that movie again. I just have no interest in ever seeing it again. It really, again, flat. That's the best way to describe the movie. Everything in that movie fell flat. Just wasn't good. But everything else I watched, definitely check it out. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned to see what I watch next week. See ya.